Activists predict that a UN nature pact will fail. The world's next global pact for nature is doomed without clear mechanisms for implementing targets, conservation groups said on the sidelines of UN talks in Montreal on Saturday, December 10, as hundreds of protesters took to the streets demanding greater action. Similar factors were widely blamed for the failure of the previous 10-year biodiversity agreement, signed in 2010 in Aichi, Japan, which failed to meet nearly all of its objectives. Strong text that commits countries to review progress against global targets and ratchet up action over time is essential to hold governments accountable, said Guido Broekhoven of the Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF, adding that the current state of negotiations on this point has him very worried. Implementation mechanisms, in the form of nationally determined contributions, are central to the Paris Agreement on combating global warming. However, the current biodiversity text only urges countries to consider the findings of a global review in 4 years, without committing them to increased action if the review finds that targets are not on track. So what we have on the table is barely an encouragement to maybe do better, said Alexander Rankovic of the US nonprofit Oz. And no compliance mechanism is being discussed to help organize this necessary conversation between governments about how they can cooperate better. The UN meeting, known as 15 Colombian pesos, is taking place from December 7 to 19, and will bring together nearly 5,000 delegates from 193 countries in an attempt to finalize a pact of peace with nature, with key goals of preserving Earth's forests, oceans, and species. On a frigid Saturday, people of all ages, including a sizable contingent of Indigenous Canadians, braved the elements to make their voices heard in Canada's second-largest city. Some people dressed up as birds, trees, and even caribou, a symbol of Canada's threatened boreal forests. People are trying to speak up, to say you can't just talk, you have to act, Raging Grannies member Sheila Larson said. Let us not forget that. To protect biodiversity, we must first protect Indigenous people, because Indigenous people protect biodiversity, said Helena Gualinga, a member of an Ecuadorian Amazon tribe. Saturday was supposed to be the last day for delegates to work on the implementation text before the arrival of their environment ministers on December 15 for the final stretch of the negotiations. An extra meeting day next week was approved under duress. If biodiversity targets are the compass, implementation is the actual vessel that will take us there, Greenpeace's Li Shuo told AFP. The implementation negotiations lack critical elements that will ensure countries ramp up their action over time. It's like riding a bicycle without gears. There has been some progress, Juliette Landry, a researcher at the French think tank IDRI, added, noting that the countries have adopted common planning and reporting templates for the first time, allowing for cross-comparison.